and thank you for visiting my channel. If you're new here, my name is Miriam and I'm a numerologist. But today I'm not really going to be doing too much numbers. I mean, granted, numbers are in my life for a lot of reasons, but in particular today, I'm going to be doing, I guess, what's like a story time to tell you about, um, I guess, why I have trouble making friends. This is not the only example of making friends that I've had trouble with, but this is the one that happened in my adulthood. And I've had a few adult relationships, like friendships, that did not end up panning out, but this is the one that ended up being the most like toxic because it's dealing with a covert narcissist, and she doesn't really realize that she's a covert narcissist. She's that covert. Um, but I'm tired of being like quiet about it, and I've been gentle about talking about it. Like I've posted on my social medias to our mutual friends so then they're aware, so they're not inviting me to things that they're also inviting her to. Um, and I'm wearing this. It's quite apt that I'm wearing this because really this all kind of started in Halloween, around Halloween of 2024, maybe 2023. I can't remember now. It's been a little while, but I know that she's still really affected by it because of the ways that she's been moving. We are both in a relatively like small-ish community, but big because it's like the city that I'm in is pretty big, but small. Um, like we're not in New York City, but we're in the holistic industry. And being in the holistic industry, you'd be surprised how toxic everything really is here. Like, and not just in this spot, but like in all holistic industries. Because like a lot of times people are trying to work on their like best selves and their spirituality, and that comes with. And also, you can hear my fan, by the way. I've got a fan going. Um, whenever you're working on yourself spiritually and trying to be the best version of yourself, what often happens is your egos, multiple egos, come to the forefront. Not just one, but like the infinite ones. Like there's 7 egos per chakra, and each chakra has 7 chakras within themselves, and those have egos, and on and on and on and on. Kabbalah. I noticed a lot of envy from that friend from very early on. But I was okay with that because honestly, I experience envy a lot in my life in general. Like people are envious of me, but also so I'm envious too. You know, I get jelly. I get a little jelly. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I could have that. Um, but this friend in particular, I met through a mutual, I would say friend as well. Like, but even how I met that friend was all kind of like on TikTok, and we met in person, and it was just some stuff. I have since then not really talked to that mutual. But I met through her, and then I walked into her shop because she owned a shop at the time. And I was like, hey, let's be friends. Or like, hey, you stood me up because we were all supposed to meet up and go roller skating and all of that. And she didn't show up. And so I went to her shop and I was like, hey, let's meet. And so we met. I said I'll work here because she was needing help at the store, and at the time she had somebody else working there, who was like this gorgeous like Latina girl, and her husband at the time was a little too friendly with that Latina girl, and she didn't like her, so she wanted her to get gone, and so she did. It was a lot of interesting dynamics there. Eventually she ended up going through a divorce with that guy, and there were lots of times that even with me talking to him, she was like, why are y'all talking to each other like that? I wasn't interested in him, he wasn't interested in me. Well, he was, um, but that's neither here nor there. I'm used to that type of stuff. There was nothing going on, but that ended up going away whenever she ended up dating another dude. It was like anytime I was friendly with him, it was because like at one point we were saying a line from a Tupac song: the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice, the darker the skin, the deeper the roots. And she was like, oh, well, I guess you guys are best friends. She was very envious of me all the time. That's further in the story. But these were all times that I was just noticing. We went to Las Vegas together, and I was dressed in this super cute outfit, so cute. And she said, "Oh, you look comfortable." She was always, I'm making that face because she was always making that face. She was always like, "It's happy for you. I'm happy for you." She couldn't help it. She could not be happy for anybody. People were doing better than her, whatever. Um, at a certain point, after working at that shop, she was not doing well financially. She was not doing well business wise. So she asked me to take over the shop. Not once, not twice, but like so many times for months on end. Like we were only friends for 3 or 4 months. And she was wanting me to get into this brand new business and take over her business because she had confidence that I'd be able to do well with it. And so I told her no for a long time. And then at the end of the year, because we met in like February, by the end of the year, 10 months in, she had finally convinced me to say yes. And I still waited until the following year to sign a contract with her, which was for her to give the business to me and my mom because I said, hey, I can't do this. Like I'm trying to do other stuff. I'm trying to act. I'm trying to sing. I'm trying to just enjoy my life. I'm not trying to own this shop. Like this was your dream. This is your baby. And so I would rather like do it with a partnership with my mom. My concern is that y'all won't really get along because she doesn't really like mother figures at all. There were lots of people that she worked with, that anybody who was older than her, she didn't like when people were like, well, you know, I've lived more life than you type of stuff. She was really mean to her mom all the time. And like, it was really hard to see because her mom really just loves her so much and like rides for her so hard. But she was always like talking down on her mom. Um, but her mom always showed up, and was really, really there for her. And, but she has her own mommy issues in general. So whenever I said, hey, I'm going to be introducing my mom, I knew she wasn't going to like my mom because my mom is somebody who will be like, hey, one, let me learn from you, let me teach you, let me figure things out with you. But also, she's not some type of person that can be walked all over the way that her mom gets walked all over. Her mom gets stepped on all the time by her. She's constantly like, no, mom, stop. But then when people are around, that she is like trying to put on the presentation of like, I'm a sweet girl. She's not. She's not. She's bitter and she's mean and she'll pretend and then she'll be worse about it. And the reason why I'm even talking about this thing is because she's done it to other people since then. She had done it to people before me. And so there are plenty of people who will see this and know who I'm talking about. Hell, she might see it one day. Her ex-husband might see it one day. I don't care because I'm going to be honest about it. I may be misunderstood in this, but I do not care. I'm going to go back and forth about timelines and all that because I just don't really care. I'm just going to tell my truth. So, when my mom was introduced, she did her best. Not my mom. Yeah, my mom did her best too, of course, but like she did her best to pretend like she was totally okay with my mom. But after a while, things just kind of got to a point where I was busy acting. I was busy and I couldn't be at the shop, which is a big reason why I wanted my mom involved, is because I couldn't be there as much as people needed to be there. And she really wanted to be able to help grow the business so it could be successful, because at this point the business model was not successful. The girl that I ended up like trying to like go her way and like take her advice on how she did stuff, it wasn't working, because a big reason why she was being successful in that business beforehand is because she was consistently posting on TikTok, and then that allowed her business to flourish. But she was refusing to post about things, and simultaneously she wanted to be the founder and owner of the business, but also not, but like have me and my mom be her little helpers, her little elves, and not necessarily be a partner. We even went on a TV show together about entrepreneurship, and during this time was whenever I realized just how mean girl she was. Because she's a mean girl. She's not a girl's girl. She's not a people person. She's mean. Um, there, anytime somebody in our room, like it was like a competition business thing, sort of, but also school. So whenever I went there for business school. I wanted to learn how to do business. And then I actually discovered that, oh, dang, the way that I think is actually aligned with how businesses are successful. I'm like, let's do it low and slow. I'm building stalactites and stalagmites. I don't know which one is which, but I'm building them slowly and it's over time and it's going to be there. It's going to be a structure. And she's like, let me buy these shirts that have our logo on it. Let us put stuff on. Let's, like, if she could, she'd buy a car to make herself look good, to make it seem like she's successful. And whenever it came to the things that she was teaching, she was just making sure she was one lesson plan ahead of the things that she was teaching. And I didn't really enjoy the lack of integrity that came with it. And whenever it came to the competition show, we would be in these rooms and we would have, after learning something, we would have to pitch it and see who won. And after I was done talking, she would be like, oh, well, I would have said this. And she would immediately criticize me and tell me basically what I did wrong or how she would have done it different. And then when we didn't win the room, she would be like, oh, like surprised that we didn't win. And I'm like, you literally just immediately criticized me after talking. How do you not know that we weren't going to win the room? You yourself even knew that somebody else did better than me. So on the third day of that competition, we had already decided that she was going to talk on that day. But then the teacher or the person who teaches was like, hey, this is one of the hardest days. And she immediately got in her head about it. So much so that she lost her breath. She couldn't speak. She had to start over. She was weak in the knees at her presentation time. The reason why I'm able to speak is because whenever I get anxious, I'm able to talk. That's my thing. I can talk. I can talk about anything. Even if it doesn't end up making sense, somehow it still connects. And yet, still, somehow that was my fault because I made her do the hardest one. She didn't try and make me take it. I would have taken it and I would have bombed just fine. I would have been fine with bombing and been like, oh, well, I don't know what I'm talking about because I didn't know what I was talking about. Because the whole thing was, this was a business that somebody else grew. This is a business that somebody else had. They no longer had faith in themselves, and now I'm going to be the CEO and the owner of this. And she was always disappointed that she was like, well, you didn't say anything about how we met and all of this. And I was like, I only have 5 minutes. And it's like, they don't care about how we met necessarily. They care about us talking about the talk points, which are talking about SOPs and really just parroting the words that they have. The subjects that they want us to say, the vocabulary words, and none of that was our serendipitous way of meeting. But she had expectations out of me. At the last night there, we were going downstairs, and I don't know. I don't even remember what we were talking about. I just remember at one point she was like, "Yeah, whatever, just push the button." And I'm just like, "Excuse me?" And she's like, "I'm just kidding. I was just kidding." But she wasn't kidding. So I pushed the button, and I was like, "I'll meet you down there." And I went back to the room to cool off because I was pissed off. And so, pretty much for the rest of the evening, I didn't really hang out with her. Eventually, she came up to me and apologized for being unnecessarily rude. But that was the last night. And the following day, we woke up and it was time for us all to to our homes. And I met so many amazing people at that competition, like that we are still friends to this day. That I'm like, oh, I love you. Um, but yeah, I walk out and there's this. The sun is rising, but it's like right here and it's just red, and you can see it. It's beautiful. It's perfect. It's just red. A giant, massive red. And I'm staying at this hotel that also has a big red circle, like for their name. It starts with an O. And so it was just this alignment. And I knew in that moment that I was done. If she couldn't truly be kind to me, I was done. And in the following months, she continued. to deteriorate and become one of the rudest people that I've known. Like, just rude. That's the best way to put it. She was rude always. She was always rude. She was never nice. She was never kind. She was nice, but she was never kind. At one point, there was this big blow up between her and my mom, because the thing is my mom really was doing her best to keep the peace, because she knows how much stuff like this affects me specifically. She was keeping the peace because of her daughter. And one day, old girl went ahead and did the things that she always does. She could do it with me, where she was like, she would randomly just like snap and be mean. And then I'd be like, hey, I understand that you're going through stuff. I get that you have stuff in your life or whatever, because I'm very empathetic. I'm understanding. I would talk to her about, I understand your traumas. I get that you're an only child. I get that, nobody's ever helped you with anything in your life. That's her story. Is that not only people never help with her, but also people steal her ideas and blah, 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 even though she was the one who was sued by a previous employer for taking intellectual property. And I believed her that that other employer was really doing it like that. Oh man, that sucks. Until her and I were no longer in the goods, because then she stole my intellectual property. She immediately took a recipe that I made with one of my bestest friends, and we made it for my bestest friend husband so he could sleep better at night. And so she started going to places and creating it. And everybody was like, it's not the same. What's different about it? Shitty intention, because that matters. Because it wasn't her idea, but she sure as hell took it. Because that's what she does. She takes things. And so I let her take. I don't care. But then we go and look at the security cameras after our little breakup. And she went into our big jar of herbs, because that was her idea, the wall of herbs. Her and her husband made that wall of herbs. But then we added so many jars to it, so many new herbs to it. And she went in and took herbs. She stole. Part of the contract is that for us to take over and all that, we were going to be getting her out of the hole that she was in, because she wasn't paying her bills. She was behind on electric. She was behind on rent. She was behind on a lot of stuff. And so we agreed to go ahead and pay those bills and get up to par. She also was behind on getting more herbs. The wall was almost empty of herbs, besides the ones that were very rarely used. But even then, those are pretty low. So, and I say we, my mom with her own money paid for all of those herbs to be refilled, added new jars to the walls. We put new labels on them that were actually educational. And so at one point she took stuff into her area and then stole herbs out the jar. And there was this whole thing about the herb jars and all of that. My mom just said she could have them all. I don't care. Take them. I do not care. Enjoy. And then she took the herbs that she bought, because we still were going to be starting our own situation. We didn't know that for sure. We just knew that we were getting kicked out of the place that we were in, because the place that we were renting from, that girl was the point of contact with the landlord. There was at one point where we were talking about getting a bigger space, all of us together, before her and my mom's blow up. And she told him then, hey, we're not going to continue with you. But she never told him again, hey, we're going to go ahead and continue with you. She never, at least according to the landlord, he was surprised whenever I said, we said that we wanted to continue. He's like, when did y'all say that? So she sabotaged our space. She stole herbs from us. And then she goes on after the breakup to eventually block me. And as soon as she blocked me, and she also had her ex-husband block me, because she knows he wanted a little piece. And he couldn't have any, so he was fine to block me, because he knew that he couldn't. And then that's whenever she decided to post about me and my mom. In this like little sideways way. Kind of the same way that I'm not telling you her name. She didn't say our name either. And she said something about how, let me tell you about the time that a friend totally screwed me over. Those words specifically came from a conversation that I had with her, which because she was acting like all of a sudden that I was going to screw her over, and I wasn't. That's what I told her. I'm like, you're acting like somebody who's going to, like, I'm screwing you over, and I'm not. Like, you've already chosen for me to be the enemy. So I can't undo that because you see me as the enemy. It took maybe like a month or two before she finally blocked me and saw that she didn't like me. She never liked me from the beginning. But she did want what I had, which was the ability to show up. She wanted my authenticity. She wanted my kindness. She wanted my free labor. She did pay me $20 a day, or maybe $20 a week. I don't know. I told her she didn't have to pay me. I was fine to volunteer. But, and it's because she was paying me money that she didn't have. She would have $20, and she was finding ways to make $20 up to pay me. And sometimes I would put the $20 back in the register because I knew she didn't have it like that. And so, but then it was still this whole thing where she was concerned about the narrative. The same way she was concerned about the narrative of her divorce. She didn't want anybody to know that she was getting divorced. And then all of a sudden she wanted to have a whole divorce party. As long as it was from her showing that she was on top, she was okay showing that. And I get it. I don't like being embarrassed. I don't like people putting my business out there or whatever. But like, for the most part, I'm not really embarrassed by any of my business. I'm not moving in a way that's embarrassing. Even whenever my ex cheated on me, that wasn't embarrassing to me. It was embarrassing to him because he was, cheating on me with a 19-year-old girl, thinking like she thought that the 2 cars, the house, the dog, all these things were his, but it was all stuff in my name. So whenever she blew up his spot trying to be like, oh, y'all need to break up so then I can have all that stuff so she didn't have to live with her mom anymore, he was the one who had to live with his mom. And so, like, it was just like, that isn't really embarrassing to me. Like, it does make me sad that he cheated on me, but I'm gonna just get to step in and living my life. Like, I was supporting him. Now there's one less mouth to feed. And so in this case, whenever she decided to make her video, there was no video, like, even in the video, it was not concise. She talked about how we screwed her over. But there was no screwing over. The only thing that happened is that we went ahead and went our separate ways. And she no longer had me in her life. She has gone on to talk about how people steal from her on public interviews. And, like, it's an interview where, like, you get to decide what questions are asked to you. And she chose to, like, write it all as, like, third person, like, saying, like, and this person is this type of person, and this person is this type of person. And like, whenever I've done the same interview, that's how I know. So you get to choose your questions. So I chose my questions, and I said it in first person because I was the one who was answering the questions, you know? But even in that, she couldn't even make it about herself. She was still talking about how people have wronged her. And whenever you're dealing with a covert narcissist, a lot of times what they have to do is make themselves a victim. Now, look here, I'm a Pisces. So I know how to be the victim. I know how to be like, oh, I'm martyred. Oh my God, they did this to me. And she's a Pisces moon, so she's a Pisces at night, I guess. But either way, it was very much like, and it's always that. Even whenever I first met her, it was how everybody has wronged her, how the world has happened to her, how things are so bad in her life. I remember at one point she read the article that I had, and this was after our friendship was in a rift. And she was like, oh, I didn't realize how similar our lives were. Because, like, I read your article and now I know. And of course she read my article because she wants to be famous real bad, but doesn't want to take the steps to be famous. Except for, like, utilizing people's deaths for her own gain and, like, stuff like that. It's just really not cool behavior. But the thing is everything that I said in that article, I had already told her because we had been friends for a couple of years. We sat down. But the thing is anytime she'd talk about her life, I'd be engaged, I'd be I'd be an active listener. Anytime I start talking about mine, she would get on her phone. Like, not even joking. She would get on her phone and start scrolling and be like, oh, yeah, yeah. So everything that was in the article, she already knew. or she could have known, but she didn't listen. She was a very bad friend. But I was a really good friend. I was her best friend. But then I found out way later on, like just like maybe a few months ago, that there was this other girl that was connected to us all. And I met her completely, separately on our own. And I found out that she had dealings with the same girl. And her previous best friend, she said that she moved her out here. She said that she did all these things and that she ain't had nobody to her name. And that it was because of her that her friend was even able to move from that state to this state. But whenever they were sitting down talking, that is not how it came out. That is not how things ended up being. And that friend that she supposedly did all this stuff for, she was like, no, the fuck she didn't. And that wasn't, but you know, that's all third party information. I wasn't there for that. But it's just interesting that the stories that I have are similar to the stories that other people have. And she's really good at pretending to have had these things happen to her until all of a sudden she doesn't get her way, and then all of a sudden you become that. So this has now happened to other people, and then they have talked to me about it. And she always finds a new connection. So now she's working with other people. They don't know about that. I'm not going to go in there and blow up her spot because that's exactly what she wants. Hell, this video right now is exactly what she wants. She's so afraid of what I'm going to say about her. But it's just the truth, boo. And if she ever sees it, she will find, you will see her floundering to find a way to twist it into something that she's a victim of. Well, baby, I'll victimize you then. I'm going to victimize you with your own actions. I'm going to say straight up what you did. See, I've actually lived in a world with lots of predators in my life. I'm not saying the stuff that girl has been through, and that's her trauma. That's the worst thing she has experienced. And so that's trauma. That's how it works. The worst thing that's happened to you is trauma. Just because something technically worse has happened to other people doesn't mean that your trauma isn't still your trauma. And that's what I would tell her. But what you didn't understand, because you don't listen, is that I dealt with predators in my life. I've dealt with narcissists in my life. I've dealt with liars in my life. And I've especially dealt with women in my life who pretend to love me but secretly wish that I would stop fucking breathing. They don't want me to talk. They just want me to be around so that they can hang out on my coattails. Because they see how good I am. And they see that one day I'm going to do good. I'm going to be good. I'm going to give 110%. So, in those times, I could see her being the way that she was being. I could see her playing her games, and I was fine with her playing her games. I like to watch people play their games and live their life and lie their lies, so then I can be aware, so then they won't get me next time. And it helps. I never get got the same way. It's always different ways. And I get to learn how people do that. With all the knowledge I have, I could be the best narcissist in the world. Hell, I think I'm narcissistic. In fact, I know I'm narcissistic. I think everybody's narcissistic in certain ways. But I do think I'm awesome. And that's not a fake thing. I don't have any shame about who I am. And narcissists tend to have a lot of shame and a lot of sadness and uncomfortability because they're not being authentic to themselves. And that can be very difficult to navigate whenever you're constantly looking at yourself from an outside point of view. At one point, she specifically said out loud that she wishes that she had a reason to not be able to connect with her daughter the way that I do. But I'm connected with my daughter. My daughter was born with a facial difference and has a different way of speaking. But I'm pretty much the only person who understands her 95% of the time. I'm not going to say 100% of the time because one, she's also a Pisces, and two, sometimes I need her to repeat herself. Sometimes she's talking about games or whatever, and I'm like, I don't know who that character is, so I can't even get from one step to the other. But even with her daughter, she felt like she couldn't connect, but it's because she has narcissistic tendencies. She has so much hatred for herself that she had trouble connecting with her daughter who looks a lot like her. But I didn't have trouble connecting with her daughter. But she's still in that moment. I noted, so she believes I have trouble connecting with my daughter, which I don't. But she's also admitting the other thing, which she doesn't feel like she can connect as a mother. But in social media and all that, she loves to post about how good of a mom she is, but she's not necessarily feeling like a good mom. Now, granted, moms often don't feel like we're the best. Like a lot of times we're like, oh nope, I could have done it better. I could have done this or whatever. Um, because that's kind of what society wants us to feel is like as women, not to feel good about being a mother, not to be feeling good about whatever. But a big reason that she couldn't connect is because she hadn't dealt with her own trauma. Like, whenever you are dealing with so much self hatred and then you have a baby that is you, then all of a sudden you are forced to deal with you. Or you can just pass her off to your ex husband and have him watch her all the time. And that's cool too. But then she would say stuff about her ex husband and talk about how horrible of a person he was and how much of an addict he was and how much of all these things he was. But then he wasn't all those things whenever it came to leaving your daughter with him. And so, because she knows that I know so much about her, she did her best to like get out ahead of it. But she doesn't have anything on me because I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything to hurt her. I was a good friend to her. Now, one thing that I feel like she really could have harped on to really help her case is that the last confrontation with her and my mom is my mom balled her fists up at her because she was walking towards her in a manner that my mom is from the hood. My mom was raised in the hood of Texas, of Corpus Christi, Texas. And so when people roll up on you a certain way, especially in her, like my mom's had her jaw crack, like wired shut from somebody taking a cement block and smacking her in the jaw with it. Like, my mom has been in fights. Oh, girl's never been in a fight. So she moves in a way that she hasn't ever been punched in the face before. So whenever she's coming up on somebody, she doesn't understand why somebody would go like this. Or even, I wasn't there, but that all of a sudden, I get it. I wouldn't feel safe either. My mom can whoop ass and has. And like, my mom's the type of person who knocks on your door every day of the week and beats your ass for talking the amount of shit that you talked. You kept talking so much shit and saying all these things. Granted, my mom was like a teenager at this time, maybe young 20s. No, she was a teenager actually, because by the time she was in 20s, she had me. But there was a girl who was talking a lot of shit. And so she knocked on her door and beat her ass every day until she stopped answering the door. Because she said before, she's like, hey, I'm going to come to your house. I'm going to knock on your door. I'm going to beat your ass. She said it. She called her and let her know. She knocked on her door. She opened the door and she beat her ass. The next day she did it again. The next day she did it again. She's like, why do you keep answering the door? I told you I'm going to do this, because the girl had been talking mad shit. My mom is one of them. My mom is not one to be played with. She is so different now. You know, she sells insurance now. She's a grandmother. She's a gentle parent now. There's a lot of things that she's changed. And she's done her best to do that. But when people roll up on her, she gonna ball her fists up just in case. Because my mom could whoop ass. And so I could understand her really harping on that. But she didn't even harp on that. She tried to make it about other things because she knew, even in that moment, she was wrong. She was out saying fucking bitch. She was calling my mom's name. She was stomping all around the place. And the thing is too, because she is a black woman, it is very, like, there is always that, stereotype, angry black woman, whatever, whatever. But she truly is angry. And she just recently started accepting her blackness. And so whenever there's that much self-hatred towards your own race, it really does become a very confusing dynamic. And I got a white mama, y'all. I'm a white mama mixed girl. So I am not safe. I am not a safe one. I am Halsey. I mean, granted, of course, I'm not white passing like Halsey. But I understand I'm not a safe space for a lot of people in the black community, but I'm also a safe space for a lot of people in the black community. So, in that case, like a big reason why I don't like talking about the situation is because she is a black woman doing her best. And and she's black, but I don't know about doing her best. She's doing the best with the tools that she was given. But if I were to say that this person don't trust her, whatever, unfortunately, when it comes down to it, that that affects all black women, not just her, not just her being a bad person. You could be a bad person, no matter what your situation is. If you're disabled, if you're in the LGBTQ, no matter what your race is, whatever, people can be sucky. And so she's sucky, just to let you know. But doesn't matter in this racist society. People are going to be like, oh, well, then all black women are like that. All women of color are like that. Not even just black women. It does a disservice to the community. It's always good to have like those conversations to like right the wrong in private so then we can come in as a united front. But she don't give a fuck. Like, she don't care what your situation is or whatever. If she feels like she's looking bad, she will do her best to pull out whatever she can to feel like she has won the battle. But she doesn't even do a good job of it. Because there's no way that you're going to sit here and play victim, but then not even mention the one time that you actually felt victimized or scared for your safety. So whenever she blocked me, it let me know that she didn't feel safe around me. She was scared of what I'd have to say. She didn't like, she assumed that every post that I was making was about her. This post is about her. I've made several posts about her. Don't get me wrong. I totally have. And I've said it too. I don't expect anybody to choose sides. I especially whenever they know, I'm like, please don't choose a side. I mean, you can stop being friends with me if you feel like I'm that person that she says. Like, I don't want to hang out with you if you really believe what she's saying about me. That lets me know that you already were thinking things like that about me. So, enjoy your little crew. I hope she doesn't do to you what she did to me. But I'd watch out. Because if you're not minding your P's and Q's and doing exactly as she wants you to do, she will change. She will flip. Anyway, so because I was friends with a covert narcissist, I really make sure to listen to myself from the beginning now. Because I like to believe in people's potential. I'm a Pisces. And so, because I know how intelligent she is, and I know how, she technically has a space in the spiritual realm the same way that I do, I know now that she was really only in my life to be a catalyst for my growth, even though she has trouble growing. I know that she still looks at my posts. I know that she has people on my social medias so then she can see what I'm up to. Like, there are times whenever I make a post about something and then like the day after she makes a post about the same thing. Because, and the only reason why I know that is because there are people who are watching her stuff and then they reach out to me and I'm like, hey, I'm okay. I don't care. But they want to tell me anyway. They just want to tell me anyway and be like, no, girl, it was like almost verbatim what you said. And I'm like, I know. It was always like that. As soon as I came into her life, she wanted to be me so bad. And all that I'm doing is being authentic to myself. She was not joyful, but she would put on a joyful face. And I understand what it's like to just do your best to be joyful and happy. But whenever I presented the work for her to do, the shadow work, the light work for her to do, it became something of unimportance to her. Because really, when it comes down to it, she only cares about money. She only cares about becoming famous so then she can have money. But the way that she talks about her patients, like, so there was this one girl who is now my best friend, actually. She went in for an herbal consultation and told her about her life and what was going on in her life and all of that. And after they had this hour-long conversation about whatever, she comes out of the consultation. My current best friend leaves. And as the herbal, I don't know, maybe there's no HIPAA when it comes to going to an herbalist, but I personally have a spiritual HIPAA. I'm not going to come out and then say, yeah, they told me all this stuff, but that's what she did. She came out and said, oh, she doesn't have anything going on. She's got her dogs and her wife and that's it. She doesn't really have anything going on. She has cramps and whatnot every once in a while. Completely dismissed her pain. Just gave her something that was already pre-made on the shelf and sent her on the way. But she liked doing herbal consultations because she was like providing this look of professionalism. She would ask questions about medications, about history of like medical issues and all of that, but then she wouldn't even really pay attention to it whenever she was making a tonic for people. They would say that they're on thyroid medication and she would give them sea moss gel. And if you don't know, you could get iodine poisoning doing that. And so some people would feel sick. The person who's my best friend now, after getting to know her as a friend and all of that, I found out that girl got a lot going on. Like medically, spiritually, all that stuff. And she's way better now. But those cramps that she had led to a surgery. She no longer could deal with the pain. But girl comes out saying she ain't got much going on. Just her dogs and her wife, and she has cramps every once in a while. But she had a lot going on. She didn't sit down and have a real conversation. She hates hearing about other people's life. And she hates hearing about other people's struggles. Not because, it hurts her feelings, but because she feels like she isn't winning the Pain Olympics. Because whenever she hears other people's stories, she wants that story to be hers. And so as soon as she starts trying to take that story, she will block you. She will block you so she can take your tale. Like, if I ever seen a Destiny Swapper, that's one trying to be it. But that's all I really have to say for now. For now. Because one day I might just say her name. If I feel like it. Either way, I'm going to go live my life the way that I have been living my life. Because look at this. This is August of 2026. And she is still that affected by me. I know I'm still affected too. Because now the friends that I have are people who are authentic. Who are like, wait, what did you say? Hold on, say that again. They're so locked in our conversations in the same way that I'm locked in. They cheer for me so loud. Whenever I could be wearing this, I'm like, oh my gosh, girl, you look cute. Body is tea. Like, even how does your hair look good even like this? She couldn't do stuff like that. She didn't know how to give people compliments. And maybe that's because of how terribly she's been treated her whole life. And she really likes to start off with how bad her mom is. But her mom is not bad. Her mom is a really kind person. And her mom will ride for her. It doesn't matter if she's wrong or right. She will ride for her. And some people can't see the blessings that they're given. Some people can't see that stuff. Because she feels like she's more intelligent than her mom. And so that was like a curse that was given to her. So she blames the universe for giving her a mom that she considers she's more intelligent than. But that's the point. We are all supposed to be more intelligent than our parents. We're all supposed to do better. We're supposed to be making strides and breaking generational curses. And she took that as something happening to her and not for her. And I'm just not into being in relationships and friendships with people who are so hateful to people who love them so dearly and unconditionally. So I'm glad she blocked me. But I know she's still watching. Much love.